I have three daughters, Lucy 21, Diane nearly adult, and Rose a teen. Unfortunately, their father, my husband, passed away in a work accident 11 years ago. We were all devastated, and it was a terrible shock. We were able to get by with my parents helping out with the kids so that I could work. We're doing much better now financially. However, I've been having many problems with Lucy. Not long after she turned 18 and finished school, she's suddenly gone off the rails, mingled with some very sketchy people, and I didn't know what to do with her. She's gotten into heavy smoking cigarettes, partying at every opportunity, over-drinking every day, and I suspect she's been doing more stuff. She started treating the house like a B&B and disrespecting her sisters and me. I didn't raise her to act like this, and I'm at my wit's end. I've tried to get her into rehab and therapy, but she just refuses to go and gets very angry when I bring it up. Lucy stays with us rent-free. She works a job in retail and buys her groceries, but blows the rest of her income. The last straw for me was something that happened 3 weeks ago. Diane and Rosa have pieces of very expensive jewelry that they inherited from their dad's mother after she passed away last year. The jewelry has been in the family for generations. While at school, their jewelry pieces went missing from their rooms. Diane and Rosa were distraught when they noticed the jewelry was missing. I asked Lucy if she knew what had happened to the jewelry. Lucy lied and said she didn't know. I pressed the issue and pointed out that she went partying and spent loads of money, and Lucy eventually admitted that she stole the jewelry and pawned it. Even though it was obvious that it was Lucy, I was still shocked that she would do something like that. So I told Lucy that this was it, and I was kicking her out. I told her that she needed to be out in 3 days. I didn't think it was fair on Diane and Rosa to keep someone like Lucy around when she keeps causing chaos and destruction in our home. And I was also worried about Diane and Rosa being influenced by her. So Lucy left the next day and went to stay with my parents, who said I was a horrible mother for kicking Lucy out and that I was clearly playing favorites. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She stole. She literally committed a crime. You aren't a horrible mother for picking favorites, as she stole from your daughters. She's an adult who stole from children. Your daughter has some things to figure out. Maybe she will, perhaps she won't, but ultimately, you still have 2 other non-destructive children to prioritize and care for. She's 21, and while you'll always be her mom, she's an adult and responsible for who she wants to be, where she wants to go, and what she wants to do. Meanwhile, you have to check the credit reports of the younger children and yourself. It would help if you made sure no credit cards or ID theft has taken place. If they're heirlooms gifted to your daughters, you need to report the jewelry as stolen. Local police get pawn sheets from local pawn stores and check them against stolen property reports. Your daughter will probably get arrested because pawn shops take IDs of the people pawning goods, but you may be able to retrieve the jewelry. So I don't think OP is an idiot for kicking her daughter out of the house, but I do think she will be one if she doesn't try to get the jewelry back. Yes, wholly agree. You are the idiot, OP. If you don't hold your eldest daughter legally responsible for the theft she committed to return the stolen property to your younger daughters, you will be fundamentally and clearly favoring your older daughter over your younger two. And give your parents the whole story that you've told us. Grandparents will change their tune when their heirlooms disappear into Lucy's party purse. They must be aware, although they'll soon see her habits themselves. Warn them to lock up their valuables. Lucy's stealing from family now, and you 100% are going to protect your younger children from such a sibling. Hopefully your parents will become allies in your attempt to convince Lucy to get help. I'm just curious about why the younger two received a family heirloom and the oldest didn't. That screams of a much bigger problem if she didn't have one of her own. Maybe Lucy was already acting up prior to this. Grandma saw it and was over it, so she didn't leave anything to her in her will. I don't know why she's the only one acting out, but I think there's a bit more to this story. Yesterday, my daughters, tween, pre-tween, and young child, and I were making popcorn, and our microwave exploded. So my boyfriend brought over a spare one today until we get the original one replaced. My boyfriend was carrying the microwave up to the house, and my daughters raced out to hug him. Amanda, my youngest, got mad that she wasn't fast enough because when he walked up the porch steps, she just ran out from behind me and jumped on the box. My boyfriend started to tilt backward, but he could swing her into the flower bed and catch himself. He shouted at her, "Don't ever do that again, you could have got hurt," and stormed into the house. She burst out crying, and after ensuring she was unhurt, I scolded her for her action and told her to go and apologize. I took her aside to the kitchen and she apologized. He said it's okay, knelt down, hugged her, and apologized for swinging her into the flower bed and yelling at her. At first she didn't say anything, so he asked, "Is it okay? Do you accept my apology?" My boyfriend told my daughters that whenever he apologizes to them, they have the option to say it's okay if they want to forgive him right there and then. Or they can say, "I accept your apology," if they're still a bit mad at him and don't want to forgive him yet. Amanda dared to say, "I want to think about it." My boyfriend laughed and said, "Okay," but I was angry. When he left to go to the bathroom, I told my daughter that there was nothing to think about and she needed to accept his apology because he didn't need to apologize in the first place. So she went and told him, "Mommy said I have to accept your apology. Do I?" And he said, "Not until you're ready." I sent the kids outside, and we got into a fight because he said it defeats the purpose to force them to accept an apology. And I told him that he was being too soft and letting them manipulate him. I told him that he shouldn't have apologized in the first place, and that they would turn into spoiled brats if he kept apologizing for things he shouldn't, and letting them apologize when they felt like it. He went for a drive and he's not answering his calls. I feel bad, but I feel right. He's a good guy, and he treats my daughters like they're his, and lets them walk all over him. And then when I have to step in and correct my daughter's bad behavior, I'm the bad guy. I don't know anymore. Am I the idiot? This did not go where I expected it. You are the idiot. It seems you're angry because your boyfriend is a better parent than you. You're teaching your kid that an apology means nothing. It's just something rote that you say. And if someone has to accept it, that means that they can do things, say they're sorry, and it's over. No other consequences because people accepted their apology. Just because you have the power to make your daughter say what you want, doesn't mean she agrees with you. The point is to give her agency in handling her own emotions. You just taught her that her opinion on her feelings don't matter because you're bigger than her. This was my takeaway too. OP needs to apologize to this man and then ask him to marry her. He's way better with kids than she is, and she's gonna raise 3 children who hate her if she keeps going the way she describes. OP, if he cheats on you and apologizes, are you required to forgive him solely because he apologized? And even if you were forced to accept his apology, would you really forgive him? You can't force feelings. I, 32 female, co-parent my young teen daughter, Lily, with her father. We are generally flexible with days, and neither of us has a problem with the other. A few weeks ago, he texted me, could I pick up Lily Friday, September X instead of Y, and drop her off A instead of B? When I asked him why, he said his brother-in-law had passed away, and his funeral was Saturday, and he wanted to leave Friday. It was in a city several hours away. I agreed to this. I wasn't happy with her missing school, but I compromised. A few days ago, a friend of mine sent me pictures from his social media of him with Lily at a ball game from that Friday in the city where his brother-in-law's funeral was. He never told me anything about that. I texted him and asked what was up with that and why he had lied, and he said that he hadn't lied. It had been a lucky coincidence their favorite team was playing in that city, and he figured they might as well go to a game to see some of her favorite players. I asked if she had homework she should be doing, and he said she had plenty of other time to do it, and this was important to him. I'm very big on the importance of Lily doing well in school, so this was upsetting to me that he put a child's game and something he wanted to do over her schoolwork. I don't even think she likes the team for any other reason other than to connect with her father, and I think that that was mostly for him because I see all the nostalgia stuff he posts on social media about the team. I told him he shouldn't have left that out of the plan he gave me, and that I wasn't changing custody anymore for his mother's birthday, and that he could pick her up and drop her off a few hours later, but she wasn't staying overnight, and I wanted those hours back later. Now he's incredibly upset at me and called me an idiot for overreacting. I just want Lily to understand that education is important, to be prioritized, and to be surrounded by people who understand that. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. If there was an actual funeral they went to, maybe he thought with how depressing the funeral was, it would be good to try and do something to lighten her spirits. Does he have to tell you every single little thing they do together? Do you ask permission before every little thing you do with your daughter? You are overreacting. Are you both not equal parents? Why are you making unilateral decisions and attempting to punish him? OMG, a kid missing one day of school is not the end of the world either. She's being incredibly petty and domineering. Not only does she micromanage her daughter, but LP also wants to micromanage the ex when he has their daughter. The incredibly petulant, "I want those hours back," shows just how ridiculous this person is. And the animosity over them sharing a connection over baseball. Jealousy, perhaps? Mom is going to wonder why her daughter never calls her in about 5 years. I couldn't agree more. LP is upset that the father is bonding, rather than realizing this relationship is very important for her child's future emotional development. She's hiding behind education to lash out at her daughter's father. So now she thinks she's punishing the father, but punishing the daughter as well. Divorce is hard enough. No need to make it harder. Children can't understand why relationships fall apart. They only know their family's been torn apart, and her daughter will resent her in the long run if she starts down a path of vindictive behavior. My husband, 37, has a vasectomy scheduled for next Friday. He went in for a consultation about 2 months ago, and this was the earliest they could schedule the actual procedure on a Friday. He did not talk to me about scheduling this, or whether or not it conflicted with anything already on our schedule. He said he just picked the first available appointment on a Friday because he wants the weekend to recover without having to take extra days off work. Well, it turns out that it does conflict with my schedule. I have a huge workshop for my job next Friday. It's an all-day event, and my boss 100% expects me to be there. My husband was assuming that I would take off work to bring him to the procedure and take him home, but I've had to explain to him that I can't miss this workshop and he'll have to find his way there. The doctor told him they recommend having someone else drive him because some people pass out from the procedure. So I suggested he take an Uber there and back, since the office is only 5 miles from our house. But he said, "The last thing I want to do after being cut open is get in a car with a stranger, no matter how close to home it is." He said the doctor told him the whole procedure would only take 10 to 15 minutes, and that I could at least ask if I could get out of the workshop for an hour or so to take him there and back. But where the workshop is being held, I would be gone for at least 2 hours, and my husband's appointment is at 2:30 p.m., so I'd miss the entire afternoon session. I don't want to do that. I think my husband's being unreasonable, and he's fully capable of either driving himself or taking an Uber. He asked me about it again last night, and I told him to stop asking because I wasn't going to do it, and he'd need to figure this out on his own. I told him it was his fault he scheduled this without talking to me first, and that he would need to reschedule if he wanted me to drive him there. He said he has already waited 2 months and wants this done. We don't have any family nearby to drive him either, and he said he doesn't feel comfortable asking a friend to take him there either because it's such a personal procedure. So I told him he would have to suck it up and figure it out on his own because he created this situation by not talking to me about it first. He's barely talking to me now, and he said he feels like I'm putting my job above him and our relationship. I told him that that was ridiculous because it's not like this is life or death. He'll be in and out in 20 minutes and then spend the whole weekend sitting on a couch watching football and playing video games while I do everything around the house. He'll be fine, but he still thinks I'm being an idiot because I won't take off work to drive him there and back. Edit. I didn't even notice there was a conflict until 2 to 3 weeks later. He just sent me a text with the time and a date that he scheduled it for because he tried to call but I was busy and didn't answer. So I forgot about the text and didn't even think about it till he brought it up a couple of weeks later. Not the idiot. He can simply reschedule if he wants or take an Uber. It's literally that easy to decide and pick an option. And also, the procedure is so easy and fast, with the majority of men being just fine through it. He's acting like they'll cut his torso in half. He can't expect you to bend over backward and miss a very important workshop that's been scheduled for months. At first, I was going to say you're not the idiot because your husband's not a child and needs to figure it out on his own if he doesn't bother checking his schedule with you. However, after seeing some of your edits that he did in fact check with you, and your lack of communication skills is at fault here, I'm going to change that to a double idiot. Number 1, for your lack of communication with your husband and trying to blame him. And number 2, for conveniently leaving this crucial part of information out of your story. You are the idiot. He's your husband. You should be there to support him, not just to drive him there and back. How would you feel if the situation was reversed, and you went in for a steri and he refused to take the time to be there with you? Also, it's not just physical, but also psychological. So claiming that it's not that big of a deal is really toxic. You're wrong for downplaying his feelings. My boyfriend Colin and I have been together for 7 months. He just found out I worked with men and flipped out. I work in IT, a very male-dominated field, and my team consists of one other woman and a bunch of men. My team is great, and we often meet up outside of work too for drinks, board games, sports, etc. Last weekend, we had a weekend team building event, and we rented 2 houses to stay in. The problem arose when I showed my boyfriend pictures of the team event. He asked where my female colleagues were, and I told him I only had 1 female coworker. The rest were men. He got angry and accused me of lying to him. I never lied to him. He never asked about my work's male to female ratio. He said that it's lying by omission, and I kept it a secret from him because no man would want their girlfriend to hang out so much with a bunch of men. He also accused me of using misleading nicknames when talking about my colleagues, like Danny, so he'd think that I was talking about a Danielle and not a Daniel. Our language doesn't have gendered pronouns. Seriously, I work in IT. I thought it was a given that I primarily work with men. I think these accusations are baseless, and I don't get what's wrong with socializing with my male coworkers. I told my brother about it, expecting him to be on my side, but he said that even though I wasn't wrong, I should have known that Colin wouldn't like me going on an overnight trip with a bunch of men. This whole situation is ridiculous, but my brother made me think maybe it's something I should have told Colin about. Am I the idiot? What does he expect you to do? Leave your job and get a girly job? For a guy you've been with for less than a year? The only thing you should tell Colin is goodbye. Not the idiot. If you stay with Colin, you'll be abused more than you currently are. Having a job is not hanging out with a bunch of men. This is a huge red flag in your relationship. He's showing his true colors, and it won't get better. Your boyfriend's behavior is irrational, insecure, possessive, and wildly disproportionate to the situation. You didn't lie, not even by omission. You do not hang out with a bunch of men. You work with them in a professional setting, and it's not your boyfriend's place to tell you who you can and cannot be around, regardless of the circumstances. Dump him. This situation is ridiculous. Your boyfriend is a misogynist. He's telling you that you're not trustworthy enough to have men around you. Call him out. Tell your boyfriend that if he can't deal with your job and trust you, you're done with him. It isn't the 1950s anymore. And no, you didn't need to tell Colin about the male to female ratio at work, and by extension, the outing. I'm not in the IT field and know that it's a male-dominated field. This isn't uncommon knowledge, so throw the whole man in the garbage.